Go ahead.
Robert, when you started this discussion, you mentioned $80,000 of savings. Now, and then you started describing other potential or about to happen type of additional savings. Those are in addition to the 80, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, I'm confused about something. When I get this agenda recommendation here, it says 190,000. But in January, if I remember correctly, you gave us a number of 140 instead of 190. So what is it at this point?
It's around 190.
It is around, so that number
I
went
don't want to
up with
understate it.
the
I want to make
savings?
certain, I want to
Okay.
make certain, because I don't have my hands around all the costs yet. I don't know what the pension number is going to be.
Right.
And the pension number for police and fire is inside the cap this year. I don't know what that number is yet.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
problem.
Long day.
I want to make sure I understand what the agenda rec is. Are you in favor or opposed to eliminating the appropriations from the municipal budgets for the departments?
Since the time after that I released this agenda recommendation, I'm not in favor of it.
So what you're suggesting is we maintain the status quo in the manner in which we handle electric and water appropriations for our departments.
That would be correct.
Thank you.
The library. Go ahead.
All departments? The museum? The library?
I would believe that would be appropriate.
Well,
This changed from the discussion this afternoon.
I,
Go ahead.
may I say one more thing? Okay, I've discussed this with Robert, and
Well, let me say that, that would be a council decision.
it's my thought here that it's ultimately the taxpayer that is paying anyway. It's what you're doing is you're showing the electric usage in the departments and the cost, and you're collecting it to provide money to the electric utility, but the money's got to come from somewhere. I mean, we don't generate the money, the borough, we generate it by collection of taxes. So it's sort of like robbing Peter to pay Paul in a sense. It's just maybe it's nice from the accounting standpoint to do it that way, so you know who's using what, but at the end of the day, the taxpayer pays.
Which also pulls that whole scab right off the library, where we thought we had worked out a compromise.
Yeah.
That's 140,000,
About 120 grand.
120,000. No.
If I could, I think this is probably the first issue that Robert and I disagree since I've been here in terms of a financial issue. I tend to agree with the agenda rec as recommended to have a consistent treatment. If you look at our history since 2002, our street lighting, our traffic lights, we don't send ourselves a bill. What we've done up until recently, probably 6 or 7 of our buildings, police and fire, this building, Civic Center, the Health Department, Hartley Dodge, we set up a separate category. We don't put that charge for their electricity and their water in their operating budget. We pay it out of a central account. We set apart the library and the Museum of Early Crafts and Trades. They got a bill. Even though they were borough-owned facilities, we sent them a bill, we collected money from them. And then there's a third-party entity in the community that we don't own, and we pay their electricity bill and their water bill. So we kind of are all over the map, and I thought what the goal of this was try to standardize how we treat this and to try in some way to get exempt properties, for example, who pay on the rate side and as a ratepayer using a product of water or electricity to bear a portion of the cost versus the taxpayers who, the way it was done previously, paid 100% of the cost. So we still have to buy the electricity, so we're not shutting the lights off in this building or any of our buildings. So we got to pay to buy that electricity. So the question is, do we pay it through the tax rate and have the taxpayers in effect subsidize the tax exempt entities, that portion of it that's attributable to those tax exempt entities, or do we have the ratepayers pay for the share for buying a product? And the way the initial recommendation was, it was to do it that way, which then also resolves and treats equitably all our publicly owned properties, including the library and the Museum of Early Crafts and Trades and the third-party community entity in our community. That was the thought process. And then our financial picture improved a little bit because we got some additional benefit of doing it that way was the cap relief that we were able to get. And then, but Robert's been very creative trying to come up with additional reductions and now identified other ways to get in under the cap. That, to me, was icing on the cake. It was still the equity issue of getting to fair treatment across the board to do this uniformly. So I think that's where Robert and I have a little disagreement in terms of this philosophy, but obviously it's a governing body decision about how we do this and what's an equitable way to do it. But there is going to be a charge, so we either pay it through the taxpayers directly or the ratepayers. And if it is the ratepayers, what Robert is saying, that they may require some additional rate action to make up this shortfall. And if we want to maintain that traditional surplus generation to apply for tax relief for everybody who pays taxes, we need the ratepayers to pick up this gap that we're going to now absorb. That's, I don't know if I summarized.
Yes.
It helped, or?
Ray, can you also talk about how much more can we increase our electric rate without losing our largest electric consumer?
Yes. I mean, I've been talking to BPU. I know Robert had some figures from, there's pending rate actions now by PSE&G and JCP&L. And there's a question as to what the percentage increase. Right now, we enjoy a competitive advantage of about 4 to 4.5%. Our rates are lower than those two suppliers. We have no current pending rate increase outstanding. They have a rate increase that should take place on or about July 1st, which will widen the spread. So our residents will pay even lower than they are currently paying of the commercial suppliers. Right now, they're looking, I think they proposed a rate increase of about 6%, but staff is looking at in the 2, and which I think was Robert's information, 2 to 2.5%. So there's going to be about a 6% spread if the rate increase as presented by those carriers is approved by BPU. It'll be about a 6 to 6.5% differential that non-Madison residents will pay about 6.5 to 7% more for electricity than our residents. The question is, if we then have subsequent rate action to still stay under that, how much does that generate to close the gap for what we're doing tonight by absorbing this cost? I think Robert estimates we would lose by taking it out of the municipal budget is about $280,000 to $300,000 of revenue. Is that
Over 300,000.
$300,000?
Over three.
And with this plan, what kind of rate increase are we looking at?
Even if this was not in front of you, we still need a rate increase.
Okay.
We still need a rate increase.
But this will be additional.
Yes, yes. If the council's comfortable with the rate increase, then we can proceed with this. The only reason that I hesitate on this is because we identified
Right.
much further spending reductions.
See, the reason that I asked the question is I am uncomfortable with additional electric rate increase. That's why I asked the question, how much more can we increase? If the differential between our rate and someone else's rate, it's only 6.5%. Now, we were planning an additional increase already, and with this, there will be addition on top of that. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about over 6.5%? If that's the case,